Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Go ahead and start the event on Discord. I know my mic was echoing last time. Is it still echoing? I think I can hear a slight echo. Chom, I saw your message. Let me answer that in a minute. Can you hear me now? Am I coming in okay now? I can't tell. I mean, it sounds like. Okay, you can hear me? Is there an echo? Okay, cool. Yeah. What I was saying is that I'm total OBS noob. It's gonna take a little bit of time. Okay, perfect. Sweet. I will tweak these values. I'll make them a little bit better for next time. But to get started, um, welcome to another Tech Nerd meeting. We just got some on the agenda today. We have welcoming a new member. We have going to go over some general program metrics and KPIs that I'm looking at. Just some requests and action items, just some housekeeping stuff that we can talk about. Like an idea that I'm working on called impact bounties. This is specific for the tech nerd. So I'm looking for some feedback, and I put up an initial bounty. And then we have a Q&A section just for you guys. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, open forum to ask. And then at that point, if anyone needs to go, they can totally leave. But then I'm probably going to go through some open questions in the developer forum. How about that? Did that help it at all? Um, no voice since she goes, okay, that worked. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, running back really quick. Yeah, definitely getting the use of this streaming thing. I haven't even looked into Stream Deck yet, like you guys mentioned, but it's on the list to do. Okay, running it back. The TechNERD program metrics. We have two primary key performance indicators that I'm looking at when it comes to developer support. The first one being time to first response, and the second one being time to answer. They help the developer experience by, the first, providing quick interactions that leave the developer feeling heard. So they're not just like waiting around. And, we set expectations that we have a fast response time, and it improves their experience, and they leave thinking, hey, the people in the TechNERD program, they are very helpful. And then two, unblocking their technical problems so they can build faster. We want people to spend a minimal amount of time just in limbo wondering how to solve a problem. So that helps these folks. The way that I do that is I set up a GitHub action on the developer's repo, and it takes all of the questions from the Q&A section, and it records it records all of the metrics there and it spits it out nicely. If you go into the issues, you can see that this is spit out at the end of each month. It's got this label called the monthly report, and you can filter it that way. And yeah, so this is just something I'm looking at. No pressure on anything. It's just like, if we can improve these metrics, I know we can improve the developer support that we're providing to our community. So setting some goals, I'm hoping for us to get our time to first response under 1 day and time to answer and close under 4 days. But I wanted to turn that back to you guys who are in the program and see if that's or if those are reasonable targets. So if you have any thoughts about that, drop them in the chat and I'll go ahead and read that. And then said, do you think we need to go back, start from the Hashiko slides? I can do a quick, welcome to the program, Hashiko, if you didn't get that. Sorry. But if there's no thoughts on the KPIs, I just want to add a quick note about like time to first response. We don't want to put in low effort replies to improve this metric. So if you don't know the answer, like, you can be honest, you can provide a relevant documentation that you may think is helpful and ask others to take a look. So even if you don't have the answer, it feels good to feel heard, right? So it's just like, instead of like, because you don't know it, it just stays on no comments below it. But you can also just like tag in other tech nerds. If it's really a complex things, you can escalate it to me on Discord. And if you guys have any like additional things, thoughts about the metric tracking, or things that we could be paying attention to, or if these goals seem unrealistic, just let me know. Okay, so this is something new that I kind of just, I threw on the slide deck this morning because I thought, like, why not? Let's get some feedback from you folks. So if you're in the TechNERD program, or if you've been following along, you know that we have impact contributions where we count over time, basically. Yeah, I don't have it up for here. But we count the points to see how you're contributing to the program, so we are able to measure it for governance. And then you can point back to it and say, hey, this is what I've done. And it's very easy to track that way. What I'm doing is I'm putting together some impact bounties that you all can tackle to get additional contribution points. So the first one that I'm piloting here is to add a GitHub action for stale discussions in the question and answer section. I've created a GitHub issue here so you can see more details. It's issue 273. But the idea here is, if you're familiar with GitHub issues, there's usually like you may have seen a stale bot before. So if there's no activity on an issue, it gets labeled as stale. And then after a while, the stale thread gets closed. So I would like a similar action to be implemented into the Q&A section. The timeframes for setting it to Thrail and like then closing it, they're not set in stone. I'm willing to shift them around, but those are just straw mans that I put up there for now. Cool. All right, so what do we got here? Action items. If you haven't already, which I think most of you have, please open a PR to the developer repo with your contributions so I can go ahead and review them and get those merged. John, we need maintainer permission to set up a GitHub action. Yes, you do, but you can test them in your own repository. And then what you can do after that is you can just open it a PR and I can review it and test it as well. So yeah, if you want to tackle this, just let me know and we can chat more about it on Discord. And then we can set some more parameters and how we can get that implemented. And then additionally, it's like we could figure out how we can add TechNERD permissions to the repository. So additionally, you can have a little bit more elevated, and it'll probably help with being able to just manually close things as well when I don't have eyes on things. So that's the first bounty. So does anyone else have any other questions about this? It would be 5 points to your weekly contribution. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. So open your PR to flag your contributions. Flag any repeated questions or anything that's not getting a response on Discord. Go ahead and tag me. I've been very busy lately doing different things. So going ahead and raising a flag in Discord and giving me a heads up is really helpful. And then I also wanted to gauge everyone's interest on if you're interested in a 10,000 foot overview presentation on the OP stack. What this would be I was going to deliver a presentation on the different components of the protocol and how they work together on a pretty high level, but it would be basically how OP-Geth, OP-Node, OP-Batcher, OP-Proposers work together to construct this roll-up blockchain that we call the OP stack. If you're interested in that, I can put together a presentation, hopefully better than this one, and I can present it in our next meeting. So if you have interest in that, I got the idea from our brainstorming sessions in the past, so I think there's some general interest, and I'm probably going to do it. But if you'd rather see something else, just let me know. All right. Any questions about the requests that I have for y'all? And I see there's some questions here. Okay, cool. All right, let's keep going. Oh yeah. This is the. Does anyone have any questions? It seems like there's no questions, but if there are, please drop them in chat. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna spend a little bit of time. I don't know, maybe the next 15 to 30 minutes going through the developer forum and taking a look at questions that don't have any answers, and just kind of going through that and narrating my thought process there. If you have somewhere else to be, you can go ahead and drop, but if you want to hang out and drop your thoughts about questions or things that you have questions on, we can do that. Oh yeah, that's the one in Discord. Thank you for bringing it up. If we answer on a week and get it solved another week, should we use the start or solve date to submit? To be honest, I don't have a strong preference in one direction or the other. I am leaning towards like when it was initiated, we can attribute it to that week. And it sounds like if it spans multiple weeks, it's probably like it can be like a larger effort classification. So if you spend a lot of time on it, I think I would want to give it to the week it started on. What do you think about that, Chom? Does that sound good? And I guess I should also like answer my questions in the chat. What about as long as it doesn't double counted? Yeah, I like that. It's a lot more flexible if we do that. I think it does not necessarily represent a good direction and seriously exceeds the KPI. All right, I answered in chat, so let me know what you think. And yeah, simple. If you can elaborate on what you mean by that, that'd be helpful for me. Okay, for now, Chom, let's do that. You can attribute it to the week that's most convenient for you. Um, and then we can adjust the KPIs as needed, or we can add additional ones. I don't think it affects it that much because it's still like time to answer and time to first response. I don't see how that will be affected from like a solving the thread idea. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Duh. Yeah. If we are lasting longer than a week, it definitely exceeds the KPI goal. But like realistically, you guys know how it is. Sometimes you answer a question and then you don't get a response for a week, and that and I know that because I do that sometimes. I'll answer a question and then I will disappear for 4 hours before I respond because I've been distracted by something else. Okay, cool. Any additional questions? Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. Next up, let's take a look at the developer forum. And I'll make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. All right, let's see if one has not been answered. Okay, this one has not been answered. Application development. Farcaster frame image response is timed out. Also, if you guys are on Farcaster or on Warpcast, let me know and I can follow you guys. I'm starting to be a little bit more active on Farcaster. I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying that experience. I like it a lot better than Twitter. It feels a little bit less toxic, and there's a lot of Ethereum builders there, so I think it's a cool place to be. Okay, sorry, side quest there. This is a duplicate from an issue opened on-chain repo from Coinbase. There doesn't seem to be too many people working on the repo, so I'm going to post it here for more eyeballs. Okay. Fetching frame image from Cloud CDN. So this is a weird one because it's not directly related to the OP stack, but Farcaster is built on OP mainnet, so we can help out in a way because a lot of folks, it's not running a node, it's not running a chain, but I know some folks in the ecosystem who might be able to hop in and answer this. So this is a good example of how we can get like a good or improved our KPI when it comes to time to first response. So it can be something like, hey, Mudbaracon. I don't know what. So it said, hey, I'm not too familiar with building frames, but I do know some builders in space. I have some colleagues who ship frames all the time. Shout out James Kim. And I'll send this thread over to him, and like if he has some thoughts, it'd be really helpful. You can hop in and answer. So I'm gonna go ahead and comment. We hit our KPI for time to first response on that 1 day, and then we can see if we can get it answered. This is one, it's not OP stack related, so let's see if we can find another one. It seems like there's a lot of discussion here. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's an interesting one. OP stack deployment. Celestia data availability Ecotone upgrade requires L1 beacon API endpoint, but it shouldn't. Using Celestia DA, but to upgrade your beyond Ecotone requires a beacon API endpoint. It shouldn't be required in this case as we are using Celestia DA instead of EIP 484 for blobs. Okay, so this is an interesting one because this is not a standard OP stack, and we'll kind of get into this a little bit more. I think there's been some ambiguity around the OP stack because it's completely MIT open source. Anyone can fork it, they can make their own changes. So it's like, what do we support? We want to support a standard configuration because it's in line with what OP mainnet is being built with. When we start kind of straying into like Celestia data availability, it's out of our wheelhouse, you know? Because we don't know the Celestia maintainers. We don't really want to have to conform the stack to every different hack. So what we do is like we want to keep it focused on like a standard stack. Something also that's coming down the pipeline is that the folks at OP Labs and other core contributors are working on something called OP Plasma, which was like is similar to Celestia data availability, and it makes posting data much cheaper because you're not posting it to Ethereum L1. So what we would say here is node Celestia DA is outside of a standard OP stack configuration. So we can't I won't speak for the engineer, so I'll say so it's unlikely that we'll make modifications to the protocol to how would I say this? It's unlikely we'd make modifications to the protocol to conform to third-party projects. However, we have our own alt DA project in progress. So if you'd like to check that out, please see OP Plasma. Chom, that's a good question. But Plasma DA also doesn't need a beacon node. I'm not sure about that. But what I'm saying is that it would be a standard configuration, so we could support it better. And it's still in development. And let's take a look at where it is. Let's see. Okay, Plasma. Boom. It is it's under experimental. You know, we're still working through it. And if you want to read the specs, you could probably find out if it needs beacon node compatibility or a beacon node endpoint, excuse me. It seems that you can often see this person asking questions. He should be a developer who focuses on OP stack. Yeah, I mean, I actually have seen Upnode. I wonder, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're running their own OP stack chain already. I've seen them in Discord for a long time, so I think that they're probably tuned into the most. But this is also an interesting one because it's like feedback that I can give back to engineering and product to see how we can improve the product, right? What's up, Hishiko? Yeah. So, you know, even if we don't support it right now, it's not something that we wouldn't support in the future. It is something that we could totally support. But it's, you know, we just have to do trade-offs. We have a certain amount of bandwidth to contribute to building the OP stack. So it's like, what do we want to focus on? You know, and if we focus on too many things, we don't knock down our goals. We got to keep our focus zeroed in so we can execute and keep shipping. So it says using plasma mode means switching to an off-chain data availability provider. So I think you wouldn't need to use the L1. Okay. The protocol guarantees availability with challenge contract on L1, where users can challenge the availability of input data used to derive the chain. Challenging an input commitment means forcing providers to submit input data on-chain to prove data available during a time period. We call that period during which any party can challenge a commitment, the challenge window, and the period during which any party can submit the input to resolve the challenge of the resolve. If a challenge is not resolved by the resolve window of the L1 blocks pass, the challenge derivation must be reset, omitting the input when rederiving, therefore causing a reorg. Okay, let's see. So basically this is like the batching. You know, the batching goes to this DA instead of Ethereum. It gets compressed. But like the state output proposal, I don't think that still gets posted to L1. Well, anyways, I don't want to dive too deep into this because we're kind of in the weeds. So we like for this one, we can kind of give them a reference here. So if you'd like to check that out, please see OP Plasma. I can relay this feedback to the team and see what they think. I'll go ahead and comment that. Cool. So we got another response there. Okay, null teleporter. Seems he just need an option that can bypass L1 beacon API endpoint or the whole ecotone setting. So to bypass it, you would have to actually change the node software or use an older version of the node software. I think it was starting in OP node version 171, 172 is when it became a requirement for you to have an L1 beacon API endpoint. So they would either need to use an older version, which is definitely not suggested because, you know, we have all the new bug fixes and improvements in the latest version. So what they would end up doing, I guess, is they could fork the OP node implementation, remove that part, but for each update they would have to maintain that fork and then merge in the changes when the core contributors release a new version of the OP node. So that would be one way to do it, to get past it. But I wouldn't ever suggest to run an older version of the software. Like we really want people to be running the latest. So while that is like something that you can go ahead and suggest in the thread, like I feel free to, anyone can answer. It's not something I want to push people towards. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. Let's keep looking. Maybe I'll do one more. Okay, let's see this one. I think one of you guys flagged this to me and I have not answered it yet. Okay. This one says, core protocol, retrieving tokens from L1 standard bridge after failing bridging. Did you check the documentation? Yes, specs, blah, blah, blah. Suppose an attempt to bridge an ERC20 succeeds on L1 but fails on L2. Funds have been successfully transferred to the L1 standard bridge and is unclear how they can be retrieved from the docs. Okay, it sounds like our docs need improvement. The standard bridge contract has some comments saying that in this case, funds would be transferred back to the sender, but not clear how that works. Is it possible to withdraw these stuck funds? Alternatively, if there's transferred automatically back to the sender at some point, what mechanism is responsible for this? That is a very good question. I do not know how that works. Let's take a look at the comment here. Let's see. Okay, also a quick note here. If you're not aware, we want to lead people to be using this tag. The OP contracts tag is like this one here, the ones that don't have the release candidate tag, these are the latest governance approved and audited contracts. These are separate from the node software. A common issue people run into is that they deploy the contracts with, like, let's say OP node. Like they'll deploy the contracts on this one, and because it's in the mono repo, there's been a bunch of changes to the OP node to consider this a release, but it's not the same as the contracts release. So just a quick flag. So when I go here, this is interesting, right? The link breaks. That means like the docs are linking to something that was before we made refactors to this contract, so they must be kind of old. So let's look back. Yeah, see, this commit was last year, right? So that's pretty old. Okay, let's see what the function is called. Is bridge ERC20. Let's see if the latest contracts still have the same notice about senders. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring it up to the latest audited contract. This is also like the latest one. This is what's going to be on OP mainnet and the other superchain chains that are up to the latest versions. So let's go ahead and look for it. What was the contract again? Universal Standard Bridge. Universal Standard Bridge. Sorry, what was the function called again? Bridge ERC20. Bridge ERC20. Okay, so it looks the same. Like, I mean, the comment here looks the same, right? So, okay. Sends ERC tokens to the sender's address on the other chain. That makes sense. Note that if the ERC20 on the other chain does not recognize the local token as correct pair, the ERC20 bridge will fail and the tokens will be returned to the sender on this chain. Initiate bridge. Okay, so I don't know the answer to this one, but it's a very good question. So it's something that we can escalate to engineering, right? And unfortunately, they haven't gotten a response, so let's go ahead. Sorry for the delayed response. This is a very good question. I'm not sure of the answer. Please let me ask around and see if I can find someone to answer this. Comment. Cool. So I'll take this and I'll see if I can talk to some engineers. Okay, let's take a look. Null teleporter. Actually tried on Tenderly Simulator. I can use bridge ERC2 bridge unknown token pair, so I'm not sure how this works. Yeah, I'm not sure either. And then it's also interesting too because, like, let's say you're going from L1 to L2. Like the L2 is looking for deposit events, but like the L1 chain's block time is slower, right? So it's like if it gets rejected, how does it revert? But anyways, I'm going in circles here. It's a very good question. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can reach out to a smart contract engineer and get that answer for them. Okay. And is me going through this helpful? I know it's weird for me because I'm just kind of narrating and just talking out loud, but if it is, let's see if, I'll just do one more. Okay, chain data size is abnormally larger than other nodes. All right. I'm running 4 archive OPGeth nodes with the same configuration. However, the chain data set of one node becomes larger than the other nodes. I don't know why one node is getting larger. One strange thing is that the size of change data is almost 9 terabytes, but when I check the property, it's 4 terabytes. Could this be relevant? That is weird. Let's see. Let's take a peek here. LP now. So if we look at data DIRs, this will give us like a size of a recent archive snapshot. So it looks like 4.7 terabytes is kind of what we're looking at. So it sounds like they have almost double the size of an archive node. Okay, OP geth data. Okay, I mean, all of this looks normal. So go ahead and say, hey. Sorry for the delayed response. This is very odd. I'm not sure why the database would be 2 times the size. The configuration you provided seems valid. Can you compare the data dir directories from your other nodes and see if there is any discrepancies? The other thing too is like the chain data is like just the database. So I asked a couple clarifying questions. Against, like, take a look at their directory structure and see if anything stands out immediately. I feel like that might be give us a good hint at what's happening here. And then also, does each node have a unique path? Like, something that I'm thinking here too is like, what if 2 nodes are pointing to the same data directory? What if they're both writing to the same chain directory for some reason? And that might be why it's double the size. 2 archive nodes, making up like, I don't know, almost 9 terabytes. That's just a thought, so we'll see what they say. Okay, cool. All right. What's this? I'm afraid of clicking on this. What is BitGet app? Oh, okay, it's a centralized exchange. What do you guys think? Should I click it? Yeah, I'm just so paranoid. Okay, it's just describing a Merkle tree. Okay. Close this one. Yeah, so this one, I don't know what they're asking for. They just sent an article to like what a Merkle tree is. Like, I'm not gonna read all of this. And then, yeah, if they want to provide more information, we can reopen it and we can talk to them. But they need to provide more. Also, like this, I don't know what this means. Okay, anyways, all right, I think I'm gonna call it here. I have some other things to get to. Let's see. Does anyone have any questions about what I went over today, going through the developer forum, or anything general about the TechNERD program? Also, null teleporter, are you TP? I don't know, like, it's cool to see you active in the chat, but I'm not familiar. So if you're on Discord, go ahead and reach out and we can chat more. Oh, yeah, that's what I figured, you TP. Okay, got it. Okay, awesome. Okay, that's it for me. I'll be on Discord, so go ahead and tag me if you guys need anything, and then I'll get that presentation set up for in 2 weeks, and I'll see, maybe I'll do it earlier, I'm not sure yet, but you can use Discord's events as a source of truth, and then we can go from there. All right, cool. I hope you all have a nice rest of your day. I'll see you around. Stay optimistic.